All right. So yesterday we left off with this. Okay. Remember, to create your explicit formula, you take the first term in your sequence, which is p sub 0. You multiply that by your multiplication factor, so what I'm multiplying each time, and you raise it to the nth power. Okay, so we're going to practice that now. So if they tell me that p sub 0 is 8, and then they tell me that my r, which is your multiplication factor, which you multiply by, is 1.7, what does my equation look like then? So it's going to be p sub n equals 8. And then in parentheses goes
16. Oh no.
1.7. And it raises to the n. So that's your actual equation. Then they tell you they want to know p sub 16. So they want the 16th number in the sequence. So we then plug in 16 for n.
Okay.
Who got it? This jacket is so warm.
Is it?
I don't think this is right.
You don't think it's right?
Can you bring me one?
Let's give Devin a moment. Oh, sure. You gotta go get his calculator.
Oh, yeah, that's right. 38,928.95.
Okay.
38,928.95. You are absolutely 100% correct. Because you a G.
Okay. Okay. Just no.
Okay.
Just no. Just no.
I like being corny. Let it go. Okay. Number 2.
Okay.
They don't tell you anything specific. They just give you this sequence. So my formula looks like p sub n equals
1,000.
1,000. It's always your first number. What goes in parentheses? Your R, which is what?
100. No.
No. Don't we have to subtract that number by the number?
You divide it.
You divide it.
I don't know.
This is geometric, so we need to divide. So you would do 900
0.9.
divided by 1,000, which is 0.9. Raised to the n.
You see that?
And again, this time they want the 11th number in the sequence. So we plug in 11. 313.81.
Yes.
Isn't that what you just
That's what
said?
you just read to
You
me.
said 31.38105.961. What is it? 31 point.
I
I don't see how you got that.
Huh?
Because I got that.
Maybe I'm tripping. Oh, I used 100 now.
Yeah, you used 100 instead of 1,000. That's what threw you off.
It's all right.
What can it be?
Oh,
Oh, can I try to figure out the net one?
sure.
I'm going to try to figure out the next one.
Nah, the net said net. Yeah, the net.
The next one.
Net.
The Nick.
All right, G, let's go.
So I'm guessing we put 20,000.
Okay, 20,000. That's your initial population.
And then you open a parenthesis. And then you turn that into
0.20.
Bro.
Ooh,
No.
You move it to the right. How about that? 0.02. Man, put the 5 in.
nope.
I'm like,
It's a 20% increase.
So you add 25.
At 20.
Add 20 to what?
I'm sorry, not 25.
The decimal the other way? I don't
To
know.
the end.
What?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold up. Back it up. Back it up. Back it up. Back it
What
up.
he's talking about.
Back it up.
I don't even want to do this one no more.
Go back to where?
Okay.
Oh.
100% larger, which is a
Oh,
100% increase.
So it's 120.
I told you I need
Ah. So when they give you this and it's a 20% increase, remember everything starts at 100%. We're increasing by 20, so I add 20, which is 120. Then written as a decimal is 1.2. Okay.
With the 5 as the.
And 5 is then going to become your N.
Return of back.
Whoops. I meant to write 5 there, not N. Not bad.
4,976.64.
49,766.4.
No, hold on, no. You did that wrong. It's 4,976.6.
I got 49.
Wait,
I got 49.7664.
I got Miss Smith.
I got it wrong? Okay, I will. Hey,
What they
All
doing
right, let me
wrong?
figure out
this is
what's
my
going
first
on.
time doing it. Remember, I was
Yeah, let me figure out what
They tripping.
Well, you got the same numbers, but your decimal.
you put.
Yeah.
2,000 instead of 20,000.
Oh.
Let me see yours. Did you do the same thing too again? Oh my. Please be careful. Can you hit extend page there, Jonathan, since it doesn't want to extend for me yet again?
Oh my God.
You've got to pay attention to what
That's
you're
good.
plugging in. Okay? So, number 4 then. P sub N equals 85,000. Now what goes in parentheses? Good. 15% decrease.
So
Again,
minus 15,
everything starts at 100. Minus 15 gives me 85. So Drew said I put in 0.85.
Then go to the 7.
And they want the 7th generation.
27,249.05.
You said, read that again.
Just put in the number.
27,249.
0.0525.
He got it before me.
27,200.
I was just trying to suck over.
Oh my God.
I nearly got on any block.
Is that right?
I just didn't write the answer down on this one for some reason. I put the equation there and never wrote the answer down.
-1.
Negative one.
Is that negative? No, I'm looking at the next part.
Okay.
Question.
That's not a negative one, is it?
It was a little dot. I don't know what that is.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a dot on the line too. What's this for? Let's go on to the next one. I want to see if it's like that too. What's the
Alright.
dot there for? Or
What's
find
what?
P1 and then there's a dot. What's that for? What's the dot there for?
It's just a period.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why they put the period there when it was typed up. Can you make that bigger, Jonathan? Can you get a little dot and expand it for me? No, not,
Oh,
go to the dot up here
oh, here.
and make it bigger. All right,
Let's go.
now scroll up.
Is it not letting me scroll too?
Thank you.
There you go.
All right. This time they say a population grows according to an exponential growth model. The initial population is P sub 0 equals 11, and your common ratio R is 1.25. We're going to do part C first because you kind of need part C to do part A and B. I don't know why it's out of order. So what does my explicit formula look like?
Bn equals 11, parentheses 1.25 to the
Good. Okay, that's your formula. So then if I want P sub 1, what do I plug in for N?
1.
1.
I feel so slow.
Why?
I don't know what's
And that equals 13.75.
13.75. Part B wants P sub 9, so we're plugging in 9. Is this a lot easier than arithmetic?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
81.9.
81 point. You said 90 what? 95. Okay. Take a look at number 2. A population grows as exponential growth model. With P sub 1 is 9 and P sub 2 is 12.
We're dividing.
I need to find the common ratios. So how do I do that?
1.3.
You divide 12 and 9.
12 divided by 9.
You get 1.3.
So when you have that repeating decimal, my suggestion to you is change it into a fraction. So you keep the repeating decimal. Because if you cut it off, you're actually shortchanging yourself.
Let's see. Oh,
So it should come out to be 4/3.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So they give us P sub 1 and P sub 2. We need to find P sub 0 before we can do our equation. So how do I go from P sub 1 to P sub 0?
Go back.
I need to go back. So how do I go back? Normally going forward, I would multiply by this.
So then you divide by that.
So we're going to divide by 4/3. So 9 divided by 4/3 will give you your P sub 0. 6.75.
Gosh.
So now we can write our equation. I know. So 6.75 times 4/3, and they want P sub 11, so we raise it to the 11th power.
I need sleep.
What we get?
9.81. Give us time. Bro.
What'd you get?
159.81.
That's not what I have.
159.81.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
So my answer's wrong then. Let me just double check.
Just check that.
No, you didn't.
I did
My
too.
answer's wrong.
159.81 is what I got.
4.82. Why you gotta be a
Did
dick?
you use the fraction to make the decimal missing? Well,
What we get?
159.81.
Can you scroll down?
Oh.
Well, what did you get?
All right. Crime in Pleasantville is on the decline. Each year, the number of crimes committed decreases by 20%. Assume that there were 400 crimes committed in 2000, and let P sub n denote the number of crimes committed in the years after 2000. So, recursively, what am I multiplying by? What's my R? If I'm decreasing by 20%.
80.
80. So 0.8 times P sub n minus 1. So your pattern is you multiply by 0.8 each and every time. So what does my explicit description look like? P sub n equals?
We use 400?
Mm-hmm. So we got 400.
It said, because I got confused, it said let P n denote the number of crimes committed after.
Yeah. They want the answer that you get when you plug it in or the number of crimes that have happened after that year.
Oh,
Why your
okay.
board seem off?
Because it's always off.
Hey,
Sorry, she said it was.
There you are, my love. Okay, so the last one, they want to know how many crimes would be committed in 2006. So you'd be plugging in,
Just enough.
what number am I plugging in for N? If we're now in 2006. 6. Because it starts in 2000, it finishes in 2006. So how many crimes? And you're going to have to round. So 104.8 would round to about 105 crimes.
My brother was born in 2006. So in Pleasantville, we should have lived there. Because in New York, niggas was getting killed every day. Boop, 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 boop. It was there too.
Question.
So what the general formula?
So that's how to find any type of number that falls in the sequence. Just like arithmetic, there is a formula on how to find the total number in a sequence. So how to add them all up. And that equation looks like this. And I'm actually going to fix this before we continue on because it's driving me absolutely bonkers. It's probably driving Jonathan bonkers too because he has to constantly extend my page.
No, I'm good.
No, you're good. Bonkers.
I'll let you extend now.
Woo! All right. So this is your equation. A is going to represent your initial value. Okay. A is your initial value. R is still what you multiply by each time. So both R's is your multiplication value. Guess what? This formula is given to you on your formula sheet for your final exam. So yes, you will have this Friday for your test. Okay. N represents the number of terms that you're trying to add together. Just be careful, because just like arithmetic, when it went from like P sub 0 to P sub 5, that meant you had 6 terms. So just be careful with that. All right, we ready to practice with these? Everybody get everything down? Roxanne, did you get everything? All right. So, the first one. The first one's technically really easy. Do you even need to use the formula here?
Sure, let's just add them up.
You can just add these ones up. Okay? We don't need to use the formula. Just add them up if it's that short and sweet and to the point. Okay?
Plus 12.
It is 166.25.
166.25.
Can do that in your head.
All right. Number 2. Number 2 says find the sum of the first 10 terms of a geometric sequence with the first term of 1 and a common ratio of 2. So your equation is A times R raised to the n minus 1, all divided by R minus 1. Okay, so A is your first term. What's my first term here?
4.
What was the question?
A represents my
Okay.
first term. First term is 1, so this is 1 times. R is your common ratio, what you're multiplying by, which is 2. N represents how many terms I'm trying to add together. 10.
Minus 1.
Minus 1, all over 2 minus 1. You would plug that in exactly the way you see it. 1, open parentheses. 2, use the little caret key to raise that to the 10th. Minus 1, close the parenthesis. Divided by, open parenthesis. 2, minus 1, close it. Equals
1,023.
And then you got on no brown.
Okay.
Not just bring that down.
Number 3. What's my first term?
Your first time.
4. What's my R value?
Wait.
When they write this out, they're actually using that P sub n
0.3.
equals P sub 0 times R raised to the n. So yes, your R value is this 0.3. Whoops, I want to close that. So 0.3. How many terms am I trying to add up in this one?
Oh, all 11?
Okay.
13?
It finishes at 11, but what's my first term? P sub 0. So how many terms?
12.
12 terms. Minus 1, all over 0.3, minus 1. confuses it? What's confusing you? The 12?
Yeah, how did we get 12? We got 2 and 11 up there.
Because you gotta find the zero.
Remember, it goes from P sub 0 to P sub 11, which means there's 12 terms. Because 1 to 11 is 11 terms, and then that P sub 0 bumps you up to 12.
So the 2 is there to confuse us?
Of course.
Isn't it 5.714?
5.71. Take a look at number 4. What's my first term?
Would it be 5?
5.
I'll say first.
What's my R?
Your R? 3?
You get it.
Times 3.
Oh, shit.
And how many terms am I trying to add together?
8
8.
minus 1.
Minus 1 all over 3 minus 1.
What is it then? What is it then? What is it then?
I don't know.
What is it?
James ain't even fighting you on these ones.
Can't no more. Drew's got it.
Go to sleep for 2 days.
Oh, Drew's fighting you on these ones. All right.
I'm just tired. I just feel like a Friday.
I don't know.
I'm waiting for Yoakum to come out and be like, it's this.
16400. Dang it.
16,400.
Smash that on a car. Well, wow, this song is good.
I don't know.
That's so funny.
Okay. Number 5 is much like number 3. What's my first term?
10.
10. What's my R?
9?
2.7.
2.7. And how many terms am I adding
9.
together? 9. Remember, these ones go from P sub 0 to 8. So minus 1 all over 2.7 minus 1.
What is it? What is it?
Both.
44,850.57.
44,850.57. Last one, then a word problem. Because y'all love word problems.
Stop lying.
Listen.
What would we do after this?
Love it.
We review after this?
Oh my God.
You sound more like you're trying to convince yourself that we love it.
Number 6. What's my first term?
23. Oh no, 4500.
4500. 4,500. What's my R?
0.75.
0.75. What's my N?
To the 23.
23.
Yeah, dude.
You're gonna ace this test. All on his lonesome. You got this.
I'm a fold on this too.
Then you got Celia over here with her cute braids. Did you do that yourself?
I did.
They're really cute.
Girl,
Oh, thank you.
I cannot do that.
I can do it on myself, but it's hard for me to do it on other people. Does that make sense?
Nope. I got no skills.
15978.59.
I'm
No.
good, like, it's just easy for me to do it.
You said what?
15978.59.
15,978.
I got 17,000.
That's what I got too.
Oh, then I don't know what I'm doing.
Now, let me try.
17 bands.
That should be 500. I got 17,975.92.
That's what I got.
I did.
Man, I don't have that car. You know, you are not hard.
And now we go to the word problem. I think we should make Tom Flat do this.
Yeah, Tom.
Sure,
that's
yeah,
good.
let's
So should I do something else?
come on.
He's going to show off his genius powers.
It's
You
the
know,
second coming.
Since he decided to put the hair down and be Jesus today.
It's the second coming.
All right. So Tom Pat, we got an imaginary infectious disease called the X virus, and there's no known cure. The first appearance of the X virus occurred in 2005, which is year 0, when a total of 5,000 cases were reported. The virus will spread at a 40% annual rate of growth.
So plus 40. 100 plus 40.
How many estimated cases will there be of the X virus over the 10-year period? So, what's my initial amount, Tom Pat? What number do I start with?
How many cases do they say?
How many cases? 5,000. You got it. Okay. My R value, it's growing 40%. 1.4. Remember, it's growing, so that means we're plus 40 over 100, which gives us 140%. And that's a decimal is 1.4. What do I raise that to, Tom Pat? How long is this happening? How many numbers do I want to add together? 10. Look at Tom Pat go. All over 1.4 minus 1.
That's not exactly how it's going to be. Taller, sweeter, taller. Total's going to be 349,068.32.
Back up.
349,068 cases. That's a lot of people with this virus.
Yeah. How many people got Ebola?
I don't know.
Say Ebola.
With everything happening with romaine lettuce now, and did you see?
Don't even
Do
know.
you not watch the news?
Who cares about what goes on in Romania?
Listen, I'm gonna need you to go to the store and buy some romaine lettuce.
What's wrong with?
You're gonna become a vampire. That's what you're gonna do.
Did you see it's now meat? Ground meat?
Yeah, Romania got everything wrong with it. They had people.
Ground meat's now giving everybody salmonella?
Only 9 people got Ebola. How? I thought it was big.
Because they quarantined fast enough.
All right. So, this is where everybody enjoys, because we talk money. Money, 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 money. How do we make some money?
Sell a kidney.
So, this one is for an annual interest formula, which means this is happening how often? Yearly. Okay? This only works yearly. This should look awfully familiar. Because it's exactly like what we just got done doing. P sub 0 is your principal or your initial investment. How much money am I putting in?
So we're adding that.
Okay? Obviously, if we're gaining interest, we're going above 100. So that's why we've got 1 plus I. I represents the annual interest rate as a decimal. And then we raise that to N, which is your number of years. Okay? So, let's talk these. Whoop. Suppose you invest $367.51 into an account that pays an annual interest rate of 4.5% a year.
Miss Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
can you send me a Maya Hargrave to the office? She's leaving.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Emma, they're going to work on the 10.3 worksheet. Okay. So we're putting the money in. It's growing at 4.5% a year, and you let it grow. How much money will there be in the account at the end of 7 years? So P zeros first. What's my initial amount? 367.51. Inside the parentheses, we've got 1 plus because we're growing. We need to add our interest rate as a decimal. So what does 4.5% look like as a decimal?
It'll look like 0. Oh yeah, 0.045.
0.045. What am I raising this to? 7.
495,273.
You said 495.
273.
273.
Is that right?
I got 500.13.
Oh, one more zero. My decimal won't click when I'm telling it to click.
Are the buttons sticking on the calculator?
Oh, that's fine.
Well, what was it?
500.13.
$500.13 we're gonna have at the end of 7 years.
And in a 7.5 years, you're gonna have 511.25 or 26.
Wrong.
How is
Hey.
that?
So Devin says after 7.5 years, you had what, Devin?
511.25. But how is that wrong? I did the same exact way and did 7.5. That's why I'm confused.
Your answer here is $500.13.
Oh.
Can somebody tell me why?
Because
Because
it's
it only
yearly.
goes by
That's a
years.
whole year.
Oh, it only happens yearly. So half a year, while that's technically accrued, you don't get it until the end of the year. Okay.
That's why I do
I was
monthly.
about to say,
Trick question.
That's why you should always do monthly
Can't
interest.
get it every 6 months.
We're actually going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. All right.
What do you-
Suppose you invest $600 into an account that pays annual interest rate of 6.5%. After 10 years, how much money have you accumulated? So we start at 600. What am I adding to 1?
0.065.
0.065 and raising it to the 10.
yeah.
Answer.
But we do it first, get a dollar. All right,
Huh.
1126.28.
Yeah, he said, all right.
Shit, I ain't saying for me.
You can get what's in this cup. 2 quarters and a penny.
I love how he's just giving out stuff that's been left in my room.
Nah, where buddy at?
It's 2 cups.
Okay.
I said 2 cups.
How much additional money would you gain by leaving it in the account for 1 more year? So what do I need to find?
11 years.
11 years, okay? So we're using the same formula, but I'm doing it for 11 years.
Yeah, you take
So wait.
too long.
1,199.40.
1,100, you said 90 what?
99.49.
Is that my answer?
Nah.
I don't know.
I'm
Sure,
saying
whatever.
that's a trick question.
It's not that it's a trick question. Read what it's asking again. How much additional money would
Oh,
you
gotta
gain?
subtract.
Oh,
So
So
subtract.
we've got to subtract.
See? It become like regular math.
73.21.
So we gained an
Okay.
additional
Okay.
$73.21.
Interesting.
Okay? So you must be careful with what they're asking you. Devin, I love you, but if you hum one more time, you're driving me bonkers.
Really.
Okay? So you've got to be very, very cautious about what they ask you. Question.
I know you be picking out your loans real well.
Honey, we don't want to talk about loans. Wait until you get your student loans. Good luck with that. Okay. You invest $3,420 in an account paying 7.5% annual interest. Suppose in 5 years, the annual interest rate is going to drop to 5.5%, and you keep the money in for an additional 3 more years. Woo! Where do we even start with this one?
I don't know. You tell her.
You do the thing.
You do the first one with the 5 years.
Oh, so we got to first do it with 5 years. So we start with $3,420. 0.075 for the first 5 years.
That's 50. Maybe I'm tripping, but 151,747.
You tripping.
But that's what I got. I put it in. That's the way I put it.
Oh,
Never mind.
0.98.
I got 4,909.85.
Yeah, but she was the one who's right.
What are y'all doing?
I don't know.
Like, what are they
I'm
doing?
gonna tell you it's the keyboard.
I got 4,985.
Did you miss something when you plugged it in too?
Yeah, mine. That's-
God.
Okay, so now at the end of 5 years, this now becomes my initial amount. So I can just take this now and add on this, and how long is this going to happen for? 3 years to get your final answer.
Is 5765.349.
$5,765.35.
34. Yeah, 35. You know me. You can have half a penny, I'll give them that half a penny.
Half a
Crab
penny.
sheet.
How you gonna give someone half a penny?
I wish.
Okay, so part B says, how much money did you lose out on in the last 3 years of your account? What in the world is that even asking?
So
There you go, subtract.
I don't know. You subtract themselves.
do the money. I mean, do the 5.
Word
Change
divided.
the 5 to 8
Okay, so
on the first one.
we're gonna pretend like this drop never happened. Like we kept it in the account at the same rate for 8 years. So 3420 times 1 plus 0.075 for 8 years. How much money should I have made if that interest rate did not drop?
Oh, yeah.
609949.
So I should have made $6,099.49.
Oh,
But be careful, they say how much money did you lose out on?
Subtract.
So we've got to subtract.
Bid bond type of bond.
Wait,
330.
still money gone.
14 cents.
$334.14. I don't care who you are, I want that money.
Ain't nothing but your back taxes. Right?
Should have invested in Apple.
I knew Drew was going to ace this section. We talking money. He's all about the money.
Miss Smith, do you invest?
Do I invest? Absolutely.
In what kind of stocks?
When my mother passed away, we took the leftover money that we had because we sued the hospital for killing her and won.
Wait.
How much money did you get?
That's state and federal. We're going to talk
Okay.
about that.
Okay. Can we finish this first and get off YouTube?
Okay, yeah.
So, example 4, you invested $4,000 into an account paying 6% annual interest. Suppose in 6 years the annual interest rate will drop to take out $1,500 and leave the leftover money in for another 4 years. How much money do you have in the account at the end of the 10-year period? So we've got to concentrate on what's happening first. So we're doing $4,000 in an account, 6% annual interest for 6 years. So we've got to take care of that first. So we put 4,000 in. It's going up by 0.06, that's 6% for 6 years.
5, 6, 7, 4 years.
$5,674.08. Okay, after that 6 years, what's happening?
The annual rate drops and takes out 1,500.
Okay, so
Minus 1,000.
we're going to subtract 1,500 because we're going to take out money. It's going to come out of the account. $4,174.08.
Yeah, I did that. Right.
Okay, this leftover money then is going to stay in the account for another 4 years.
So
Your rate hasn't changed.
So do that again with 4 years.
1 plus 0.06 for another 4 years.
5269.57.
5269.68. Okay. Part B then says, how much money would you have had if you didn't need that $1,500 after 6 years, but after 10 years? So we're going to do it for an entire 10 years instead of 6 and then 4. So we go back to that original equation and we do it for 10 years.
What is it, Drew?
It's a miracle.
What's going on there? It's 7163.
7,163.
Point
$0.39.
Okay, $7,163.39, and then I'm taking out the $1,500. So I would have finished at
5663.39. That 39 could be touched to 40 cents.
No, you can't. 'Cause that's
no,
zero.
because we can still count pennies. Now, if the number after the 9 was like 5, yes, it would have rounded up to 40
There's
cents.
a zero.
But it's not.
I don't think that's what I did. I would have done
Someone needs to invest in weed stocks.
All right. So this is, again, if it's happening yearly. There are some places where you can invest some money and it's going to be compounded quarterly, monthly, or daily. Okay. So my equation is going to change a little bit if it's not happening yearly. So everything else stays the same. This is your initial amount. This is the interest rate. This is how many times. But now we've added in a K value. So your interest rate has to be divided by K, and the amount of years or transitions has to be multiplied by K. K represents the number of times it's compounded in a year. Okay, so it's just going to change a little bit.
So semi-annual would be 2 years, quarterly would be 4.
Okay, so quarterly compounded interest happens every, how many months?
4.
3 months.
3 months. Every 3 months. And it's how many times a year?
4.
This is 4 times a year.
Oh, never mind.
Okay, so don't get that confused. It happens every 3 months, which is 4 times a year. Okay, so after 1 year, 4 times a year tells me how many transitions?
4.
4. 1 times 4. 5 years, how many transitions?
20.
20.
20.
5 times 4. After 5.5 years.
20.5. 25.
No, it's still
22.
Yeah, I was about to say.
22 transitions.
Do that.
So again, 4 times 5.5. Okay, so that's going to be the number that you raise it to. Okay, so a principal of $1,000 in an account pays 10% annual interest. Okay, the interest is compounded quarterly. So what does my equation start with? What's my initial amount? 1,000 times 1 plus
0.10.
0.10. Okay, because it's compounded quarterly, I have to divide this by 4 this time. It's how many times it happens a year. Raised to the, and it's going to be whatever these values are.
Do we add them together?
Okay, so it's all 3 separate problems. So after a year, I would have raised this to the 4.
But you got to put that 4 back, though, because it says K in the equation.
That's what this is. This is K times N. So when you get this value, that's your value. Hold on.
It's a let. Oh,
So you would raise this to the 1 times 4. It's happening 1 year and your K value is a 4.
So 1 times 4 is 4.
Could just let the 4, but
That's
okay.
gonna be 1,103.81.
So 1,103.81. Okay. I'm not going to rewrite this. The second time around, you would raise it to the 4 times, because that's your K, for 5 years. So it would be raised to the 4 times 5, which is 20.
So
You can-
1,638.
Whichever one makes more sense to you. I personally plug in the 20 and the 22. If you would prefer to put in the K times N, the only thing you have to be careful of is when you plug in K times N, you have to put it in
No,
parentheses.
that's what was confusing me.
You-
I didn't understand.
Did that make sense now?
Right.
Did it just
Okay,
click?
So you just put the transition.
Right.
Yeah. now I got it.
Did that just click? Okay, you said it was what, Devin?
The first one is 1,638.62 because I rounded it up. So
Okay. And then when you want to do part D, we would raise it technically to the 4 times 5.5, which again is 22.
which is 1,721.57.
Okay. So you can figure out your transitions first and just raise it to that, or you can raise it to the K times N. Does not matter to me. So compounded quarterly. Okay. Anybody still need this up?
Yeah.
Okay. Good? All right. Let me, monthly compounded interest. This is going to occur every month. So if it occurs every month, that means how many times a year?
12.
12 times a year. Okay? So if it's happening 12 times a year for 2 years, how many transitions? 24. This is 12 times 2. If it's happening after 4.75 years, how many transitions?
75.
57.
57. 12 times 4.75. Okay. It got all kinds of crooked over there. Okay, so again, when you plug it in, you can raise it to the 24, you can raise it to the 57, or you can raise it to the 12 times 2, 12 times 4.75.
So we divide this by 12.
Yes. So my initial amount is 2,000. 1 plus, what's my percentage look like as a decimal?
Divided by 12.
0.15, and it's happening 12 times a year, so I divide by 12 this time. Okay. Technically, you could have used this equation for the first part, but you would have divided by 1 because it happens once a year. Well, what does dividing by 1 do? A whole lot of nothing, which is why we don't use that. So we would raise this to the 24 and get what?
Okay, you got 2,694.7.
$2,694.70. And then you would raise it to the 57th power.
And you would get, hold on, I'm losing my mind right here. Okay, never mind, I got it. You get 4,060.20. No, actually 19, because I'm going to go.
Perfect. Okay, so that's monthly compounded interest. So your K value becomes a 12. Hey, Jesus. Hi.
The last one happens 365 times a year.
Okay, so daily compound interest. Transitions occur every day.
Every day, since there's 365.
So that's 365. Yes, we do not. 365 times a year. We're not counting leap year. Sorry, February 29th is out. Okay, so
What's the next one here?
After 3 years is how many transitions? 365 times 3.
Oh, they didn't even give us a transition spot. Like, that just made me mad. I was like,
1,009. I got 10,957. Did I write down wrong? Okay, I totally wrote down the wrong answer.
Well,
Whoop! 1,095 transitions. After 8 years, my transitions would be
2,920.
I wrote that one down right. How can we go? Okay, so this one starts 1,500. 1 plus.
right, after that, okay, so the denominator, would that be 365?
You got it. 365. This one's raised to the 1,095. And your second one would be raised to the 2,920.
oh, that first one is gonna be sorry. Where is it? I just did it all. Oh, where is my calculator doing? Oh, I'm sorry. It's 1,949.7.
Second one is 1575.
49.7.
Second one is 1575.09.
No, hold on. Yeah.
How'd you get that? Maybe I didn't.
What'd you get, Celia?
I got 1,906.
And 82 cents?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Did I do something?
I don't know. I need to come look now. I got $1,906.82. Did you figure out what you did wrong?
Yeah, I put two.
Let me see what Devin did back here.
Oh, I didn't put
That's
one.
yeah, you put a 1 instead of a 0.
Oh, because I thought y'all said 1,195. That's what somebody said.
Okay.
I got 2,800.
That's what I got. $2,844.52.
Okay, we got.
Okay. Question.
No, after people sleep.
You have a 10.3 worksheet up on Canvas that practices all of this that will help you get ready for this test on Friday. Okay.
What happened to you, G?
So here's the deal. I'm going to give you. Why is my husband calling me? Or it's